Shalom. Kol Holo Yahweh Ba'ashum Yahushua Ba'ashum Rakach Wadash. The bonds to the apostles, the bonds to the elders, the great millstone, Ruel, and tells us his truth. Much respect to you, brothers out there, to preach his word in truth and sincerity. The one four comes of earth, Tabernacle David, hopeful elect, and the speckled bird. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Let's get into this. This is just a quick few words looking at the Superman movie in a spiritual manner. I'm not trying to go to into deep, with the spoilers, for those that have not seen it. I enjoyed it. It was pretty good. It had of course, when your eyes are open, you can see things in the spiritual light. There was in Salakia, and once again, go watch the movie for yourself. But there was a part where Lex Luthor pretty much doctored up. If I'm not mistaken, he had doctored up the quote Slakia with Superman parents were telling him to do. But really, when you look at it in a spiritual matter, how pretty much the premise of what Superman parents was talking about is go rule the earth. All right. And that's pretty much set for us. Go rule the earth. We're going to rule the earth in righteousness with the iron fist, right? We shall rule with the iron fist, right? My friend, let me look that up, right? Slaggy. It's Revelation 2 verse 27, class of scripture. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as a vessel of the potter shall be broken to shivers, even as I have received of my father, right? Going to rule with a rod of iron, and we're going to rule in righteousness, right? And pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, Lex Luthor had doctored it up. But once again, looking at it, what Superman parents had said, have a harem of women, rule with the iron fist, right? That's what we sent you to earth to do. Looking at it in the spiritual matter, hey, that's us, the Israelites, man, right? And matter of fact, hey, the other nations are going to be so happy and so glad. They're going to be throwing their women at us, man. Matter of fact, in Jacob's trouble, Isaiah 4:1, right? The women is going to be throwing themselves at you, man. Okay. All right. But that's one spiritual matter, Also, Superman, just breaking down his name, Kal-El, right? Really, when you break it down in the Hebrew, call, all right, means all right? Instead of El, it's actually Allah, right? Which means power. All power, right? When you break it down in the Hebrew, call Allah, right? Not call El, right? Which, really that's his name, but it's really call Allah, all power. And guess what? All power is going to be given unto us. As I get this right here, Joshua 23 and verse 10, one man of you shall chase 1,000. For the Lord Yahweh your power, he it is that fighteth for you, as he have promised you. Right? One man shall chase 1,000 to flight. All right. Right? As you watching the movie, you have one of the scenes where Superman's flying, and you have the drones or whatever they call them, right? And they were pretty much coming together to fight Superman. One of my favorite scenes in the movie. He's shooting the laser beams, he's beating them up, he's flying, and that part was dope. I'm like, hey, that power is coming unto us, man. Right? That power is coming unto us. Matter of fact, Isaiah 41 and verse 14. Fear not, right? Because the times that we coming into, as you read in Jeremiah 30, speaking about Jacob's trouble, it's going to be so crazy out here, as it speaks of, just roughly paraphrasing, men shall be turned into paleness, you know, And when you read that scripture, I know when I read it myself, if the men's going to be like that, imagine the women and children, how crazy it's going to be out here in these last days. But the Lord is saying, hey, fear not, right? Because we're going to have a different countenance upon ourselves. We understand that we got to go through this hill to get to heaven, right? Heaven meaning rulership, right? Getting that power, right? So fear not, thou worm Jacob, and ye men of Israel, I will help thee, saith the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shah, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. The Lord is coming to help us, right? That standard, as you read in Isaiah as well. When the enemy comes in like a flood, the Lord's going to lift up that standard, right? They're coming after you. We already seeing, pretty much the beginning stages of Jacob's trouble where Northern Kingdom is being deported. And we're seeing as well, they're coming after Southern Kingdom, man. Right? Just saw where a brother had posted up another, it says American, which is Jake, all right, appear to be Southern Kingdom, got deported, right? I saw the other day you had this if I'm not mistaken, Benjamite, who was born here. He fought in the military, right? Come on, Mal. He fought in the military. He fought for you, Esau, Edom, and they deported him. That's why the scriptures say, clear as day, never trust thy enemy. And he said, you might as well kill me. But if Jake was moving in the spirit, he would understand, never trust thy enemy, and he will understand the times that we living in, man. But anyways, getting back to it, Isaiah 41 and verse 15, behold, I will make thee a new sharp thrusting instrument having teeth, right? What you see in the comic books, what you see in the movies, right? The TV shows, the animes, video games, that's going to be us and more. We're going to have all power. Call Allah, right? All power is going to be bestowed upon you. Then Yahweh Shai said, right? You're going to be able to do greater things than me, right? And when you go into it, right? And pretty much in the last book of the last chapter of John, right? It speaks about how many miracles and great things Yahweh Shai did. That he did so many, it pretty much, if they wrote it all down, it would take away, from the true message of the book. And the Lord said, we gonna do greater things than he, right? Greater things than the past prophets. Yahweh Shai said the greatest prophet was Elijah. Look at some of the great things that he did, man. Right? Some of the great things that he did, man. And he ultimately got beamed up. And Elisha asked for that double portion. Guess what? We're going to get that 144% portion. Yahweh Ratazah, we of those men, right? It's like you're getting back to it. Thou shalt thrash the mountains, right? The men up on high, right? And beat them small and make the hills as chaff, right? They're going to be beaten, right? They come against you, they're going to be turned into powder, turned into dust, right? Thou shalt fend them, and the wind shall carry them away, and the whirlwind shall scatter them, and they shall rejoice in the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shah. Thou shalt glory in the Holy One of Israel. You're going to be giving all praises going on to Yahweh Shemel Shah, right? You literally going to be like a whole Superman, a whole Super Saiyan, man, right? Whatever comic book, superhero, whatever character you like, you're going to be like them and more. You're going to have all power, man, right? You're going to be like Superman, right? But getting back to it, a Lex Luthor was a prime hater, prime, he envies Superman. He's talking about he's scared. I'm like, that's the spirit of the Edomite. Because here it is, you have this black hole, all right, mini black hole, and you causing chaos and destruction, right? You have the code to pretty much stop it, but you still have so much hate for Superman, which applied it in the spiritual level. Esau Edom has so much hate for the Israelites, right? that he's destroying his own people, right? To get to us. He pretty much in the movie, Lex Luthor pretty much jeopardized the whole earth just so he can get at Superman. Ain't that Esau Edom? Right? Matter of fact, you get into the wars, right? The war that he was setting up, right? Banking wars. He's getting rich off their wars, right? Isn't that what the Edomite does here in real life? Get rich off of wars, right? So another showing, hey, Lex Luthor was moving, most definitely moving like an Edomite, right? Now, I grew up on the Justice League Unlimited series, as a child watching that, and Lex Luthor and that one appeared to be, a black man in that. I enjoyed that one, but in the comic books and some of the shows, hey, he's really a Edomite, but this one really displayed, you know, the Edomite, the Edomite way, the pure hatred towards Jake, right? The pure envy towards you, right? The funding of wars so you can make so much money, right? As I get this right here, Proverbs 4 and verse 16, for they sleep not, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. The clear spirit of the Edomite. They have to do wickedness. They have to cause mischief. They have to see someone fall, right? They are pure evil incarnate, right? They are truly the devil that the Bible speaks of, right? Once again, when you watch that movie, that's a true Edomite spirit right there. All right? That is the true Edomite spirit, man. I'm gonna get this right here. Exodus 17 and verse 16. For he said, because the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shah have sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. The two main characters of the Bible is Jacob and Esau, which your pastors won't tell you that, right? Us as the men of the Lord are able to break that down from generation to generation. We're seeing this war, as we see in the movie, right? It's Lex Luthor versus Superman, right? And Lex Luthor is putting all these plans and pretty much jeopardizing the whole earth. The whole earth could have been destroyed by the mini black hole that Lex Luthor had put out, man. But hey, that's the Edomite way. They don't care. Matter of fact, Sirach 33 and verse 15. Good is set against evil, life against death. So is the godly against the sinner, and the sinner against the godly. Right? Where do you think they get this from? Right? Good versus evil. They get it from the scriptures. They get it from real life, man. Right? The good Israelites, right? The evil Edomites. And even within the Israelites, right, you have the 2/3, right, which they're allotted for destruction. They're evil, all right. They're against the men of the Lord, as the scriptures speak of. They mocked the prophets of the Lord, just roughly paraphrasing the scriptures, right? So we're coming into the times where they're going to be confounded, right? Matter of fact, in the movie, when that broadcast was playing, talking about how Superman's parents told him to pretty much rule with an iron fist. You had the people angry at him. You equate that to the spirit. The people is mad at you. What you talking about? We going to go to slavery and you going to rule with an iron fist, and the whole world's going to be at peace under the rule. They don't want to hear that, right? They don't want to hear that. Matter of fact, Superman, end up being thrown into prison. Revelation 2 and 10. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just go ahead and get that instead of paraphrasing it. Right? Let me get that real quick. Revelation 2 and verse 10. Right? Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, right? And we seeing this happening, pretty much the beginning stages of Jacob's trouble, Northern Kingdom, and right now, even some Southern Kingdom, right, which is going to ramp up. It's being thrown into prison. Talking about throwing you to Alligator Bay or Alcatraz, Alligator Bay, whatever they call it, man. Right, which they gearing up for. Right, so the man, the Lord is going to be thrown into prison. You got to expect these things, right? The devil, right, not the spiritual demon Satan, but the devil, right, the adversaries, the deceiver, Esau, Edom shall cast you into prison, right? Shall cast some of you into prison that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. As you see in that movie, you had the little mutant guy. He pretty much had he can make kryptonite, right? And Superman was over there suffering, man, pretty much suffering from kryptonite poisoning, right? And he wasn't looking too good, but eventually, you can equate it to the spirit, right? The Lord's going to make it a way where some of the men of the Lord is going to be able to break out of prison. I had dreams about that, being able to break out of there with spiritual power. Yahweh Razah, however the movie goes, whatever the Lord, pretty much when you read the scripture, you just got to have faith. Whatever the Lord throws at you, you just pray to the Lord that you're able to endure it, right? Just like Superman had to endure, he was up on the ground, man. He was not looking too good, and that may be some of the fate of the men of the Lord. Hey, when you in that situation, it may not look too good for you, man. He was pretty much in a pocket dimension. If it wasn't for Mr. T, all right, what's his name? Mr. Terrific, right? You can equate that to the spirit. If it wasn't for Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, right? We probably won't get out these situations, but that's why we need the Lord. That's why it's imperative to fear the Lord now, man. But yeah, I just want to speak speak a little bit on that, man. Once again, that quote or Slakia, what Superman parents had told call Allah, right? All power. Hey, rule with the iron fist, man. All right. Hey, that's coming. That is coming. You're going to see a league of Supermans out here. And the world is not going to know what to do about that. There's nothing that they can do about that. Hey, that's why Lex Luthor was scared. All right. If this man was to turn, he can pretty much enslave humanity. Guess what? That's what the men of the Lord, starting with Yahushua, big brother Yahushua, right, is going to do. Right? All the other nations are going to go into captivity. But guess what? Yeah, you're going to go into captivity for 1,000 years. But after that, hey, it's all good. We're going to have peace with you. You're going to see that our ways is prosperous. We're going to be cool with you. But that Edomite, nah, man, he going to be thrown away in the trash. All right, burnt up. Right? But yeah, it's just little few words on it. Y'all, Ratazah is an edifying lesson. Shalom.